Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Craig Campbell from Pastor Craig's Vintage Cards, and been going through some of my old football cards again. And this card here of George Sauer from the New York Jets, this 1970 Topps card, is quite interesting. I can remember reading. I'd gotten a book back in the early '70s. It was from Super Bowl I through Super Bowl V, the first five Super Bowls, and I remember reading about Super Bowl III between the New York Jets and the Baltimore Colts. And George was very, very prominent in that game with the New York Jets. Of course, they beat the Baltimore Colts. They upset them 16-7. But George, he ended up in that game. He had 8 receptions for 133 yards. He didn't score a touchdown, but he had 8 receptions for 133 yards. And George was a really good football player. His dad had played for the Green Bay Packers in the 1930s, I believe, and played for a couple years. And then George had played college football, I believe, the University of Texas. And yep, he played for the University of Texas, and he was on the national championship Texas football team. I believe they won the championship in '63. They were undefeated, and yeah, the '63 championship team. Well, they may not have been undefeated, but he was on that NCAA Texas championship team. So he gets drafted. He goes and he plays for the Jets, and he had a heck of a career. It was a short career, but he led the AFL in receptions in 1967, and he was a four-time AFL All-Star team member. He was a four-time AFL All-Star, and 3 times he was named to the All AFL team. And he was a member, of course, as I said, of the Super Bowl winning New York Jets. So he was a national champion. He was an AFL champion with the Jets and a Super Bowl III champion, and had a really good career. And then in 1970, he decided that he was done playing football, and he left the game of football, and he was very disillusioned with the NFL, with football in general. And he said they were football was dehumanizing. There we go, kind of a tongue twister. Dehumanizing. He thought football was, and the way they were treated like kids, told when to go to bed, when to wake up, what to eat, this and that. And so he quit football in 1970 at the height of his career. I mean, he had just come off a lead in the league in receptions. He was a four-time All-Star. I mean, he'd been a national champion, a Super Bowl champion, and he just up and quit football after 5 years. And quite an interesting story. He quit, and he ended up writing a book, I guess. He wrote a novel, and then he ended up like coaching some kind of a junior football of some sort. And he ended up living in Minnesota, and he died from Alzheimer's related. He did dementia, then Alzheimer's. He died in 2013. But just a real interesting story. Here's a guy at the height of his career just said, "I'm done." He quit playing football. And he had Joe Namath as a quarterback, and Don Maynard was his other partner as a wide receiver. And yeah, interesting story about George Sauer, and quit at the height of his career. Quite interesting. And another guy that I was looking at his cards is this fella here, Bryant Salter, and he played for the Chargers, and he had a pretty decent career. And Bryant, he ended up he started 48 games, and he had 17 career interceptions, so he had a decent career. And when he retired from football, he went back to Harvard, got his business degree, or he got his degree from the Harvard Kennedy School, master's degree. And he ended up working in the foreign services for the United States for over 20 years. And he was not the ambassador to Mexico, but he works in one of the offices dealing with Mexico. And he's still alive. He's the University of Pittsburgh. He's got a position with Pitt, and a pretty high position at the University of Pittsburgh. But interesting guy, Brian Salter. He good football career, but then he ended up really serving his country for over 20 years. And you can see he was a Pittsburgh native, went to Pitt, and now he's serving at the University of Pittsburgh after serving his country and playing in the NFL. So just kind of an interesting story about Bryant Salter. So there you go. George Sauer, Bryant Salter, two guys that made a mark in football and outside of football as well. So just wanted to share the story with you guys. Everybody have a good night.